Hello everyone and welcome to another video of Keyforge with KevBot. So I got a special one for you guys today. We're bringing you my way too early house power rankings. Again, we're still like a month and a half, 2 months away from launch here. But I've been playing this game for a couple weeks now, and I've probably got somewhere around 50 to 75 games under my belt with probably 5, 10, 15 decks. So I just wanted to bring you my general thoughts on how these houses rank out between themselves. Something to bring up here is that I truly believe that any single house could be really exceptional in this card game. It just depends on about the cards that you have in that specific house and the synergies that they have with each other and with other houses in your deck and your general game plan. But what I'm going to do at this point is just look at mainly the common rarity cards and what the house is trying to do in general and how that can help you win games. Because say that we're just like picking up a random deck and we just know maybe what the houses are. I want to let you guys know how that deck might form just looking strictly at the houses, not knowing any of the cards or anything like that. So we're going to get right into it here. We'll start out at number 7 with Mars. So I hate to put these guys so low because I love playing with this class. It's really fun. They do a lot of fun interactions and combos, but the big part about Mars is that it has a Mars Matters theme. So that just means that your Mars cards are going to play off each other on the battlefield. They're also going to play off each other in your hand. So you're trying to cultivate turns where you have a lot of Mars cards going together. The problem with that is that sometimes you're not given enough good Mars cards to where you want to be using Mars every turn. And sometimes you just don't draw them in the right order to where that if you only have like 1 or 2 Mars cards in hand, you're not going to be seeing those powerful effects. But I'm just highlighting some of the better common rarity cards here. I mean, there's a good amount of disruption, and some of the creatures are really good as well. But I've just found the Mars class to be too inconsistent on a general basis. Not to say that they can't be really good, but just in general. So that's why I have them last on my power rankings. We'll move to number 6 now. We've got Brobnar. So not my favorite class to play with, but still definitely decent. The big thing about Brobnar is that they try to play big creatures and then fight and control the board with those creatures. The problem that I have personally with that is that if you're choosing the same class over and over in order to fight with them, you're having to play in one turn and then choose it again to fight with your opponent's creatures to control their board. Your opponent's just going to be deploying more threats and generating more amber over time just by playing their cards. So just controlling the board by itself is not like a totally like great strategy. You have to be doing other stuff as well. But there are some strong cards in this house here, and you have Coward's End to kill a bunch of creatures and to loot the bodies. That's a great combo I've done before. War Drummer works really good with other play creatures because you can bounce them and use their effects multiple times in a row. But like I said, you're not generating a whole lot of amber, which is what you really want to be doing in this game in order to win. So that's why I have them at number 6. We'll take it over to number 5 now. We have Untamed. So originally when I made this list, I made a post on Reddit to get some feedback from the community. I had them a lot higher at number 3. But one thing I did realize that is, for what I'm looking at for this list specifically, is how they would perform like on a general case, right? So obviously if you have like 2-3 hunting witches in your deck and a bunch of creatures, that Untamed card pool is obviously insane. But that's not going to happen a lot of times. And if you do miss on Hunting Witch, if you don't get any in your card pool for Untamed, it gets like quite honestly pretty bad because the creatures are just medium sized, and a lot of them do provide a lot of amber, which is what you really look for. But you're just not getting enough bang for your buck a lot of the time. But it does have access to some cool cards like Key Charge at common, and also save the pack to do some disruption as well. So I have it higher than others, but still middle of the pack for these common level power rankings. Next up at number 4, we've got Logos. So this is one of my favorite classes personally, and the big reason for that is I think the archive mechanic is very underrated. So the great thing about archive is it's going to let you dig for your better cards that you have in your deck, but it's also a drawback, right? That's why I don't have this house higher, because if you don't have other great cards that you're trying to dig for, then you're not doing much, just archiving a bunch of cards. But there are some really hard hitters at common in this class. Mother gets you an extra card every turn. If your opponent doesn't answer this, it's just going to be enough of value over time to just win you the game straight up. Library Access, obviously insane card if it allows you to combo off really well at turns and stuff like that. And you have a decent amount of disruption and threats on your own in this Logos class, so that's why I have it right in the middle of the pack here at number 4. Next up, we got Sanctum. So originally I was a little bit lower on Sanctum than some of the other community members were, but they talked me up and I sort of came around to it. Basically, the big reason is that common. They've got a lot of really solid creatures. I mean, you can see here we've got Sequest and Radiant Knight both allow you to capture, which is a really great mechanic. Not as good as Steal that we'll see in Shadow's class, but it still puts your opponent behind on tempo, and you can use these guys to even clear some of your opponent's boards if you have multiple turns. And some of these cards like Terms of Redress and Take Hostages allow you to capture even more. So I've won games just by capturing a bunch. The downside is if your opponents get rid of those creatures, all that advantage goes away, which is why I have them at number 3. But I do want to bring up Blinding Light as well. To me, one of the best cards I've seen so far in all the houses. It gets you an Amber, puts your opponent back on tempo. I've had instances where I wasn't able to use cards on my board for like 70% of the game, just because there was no incentive for me to unstun them because the cards in my hand didn't warrant me choosing that house. So it can be really, really strong. But that's it for Sanctum. We'll move on to our number 2. We've got Dis. So obviously Dis has a lot of really, really powerful effects on their cards. So stuff like Arise, Gateway to Dis, Control the Weak, all these cards are really, really game swinging. And so they're not jittering you guys a lot of Amber in general in Dis, but they're allowing you guys to control the way the game's played. Even Ember Imp, your opponent cannot play more than 2 cards each turn. If you do something like Gateway to Dis into an Ember Imp, if your opponent doesn't have some direct removal from hand, they're going to be set back for 2 or 3 turns. And that's going to allow you to get more tempo than them, allow you to get your Amber generation, your Amber engine going, and that's the way that you're going to win games. So again, the downside on Dis is that you're not jittering a lot of Amber, but you can do that. If you're so far ahead on board, you can just use your own creatures to generate Amber. So number 1, obviously the only house left we've got is Shadows, and this probably won't be a surprise to most people who've been playing for a while. To me, the stealing mechanic is by far the strongest mechanic in the game. The only time it's not good is if your opponent doesn't have any Amber, and if that's the case, then you're probably going to be winning that game anyway, right? So obviously the biggest card here, Bait and Switch. It's action. If your opponent has more Amber than you, you get to steal one, and then you repeat that until they don't have more than you. So until you guys are equal, or until you actually have more than them. And the reason that this is so good is that Amber is the way you win the game, right? Everybody's going to trying to generate Amber, and people are saying you can play around this, but it's really quite hard. And if you're playing around it, you're putting yourself back on tempo. And then there's a bunch of other good cards in the class as well. Ghostly Hand is almost as good as Bait and Switch, sometimes even better. Naughty the Thief and Urchin are just cheap ways to steal, and these cards have to be dealt with. Like if there's a couple Naughties out on the board and your opponent doesn't deal with them, you're just going to take all their Amber. And then there's plenty of disruption in Shadows as well. So again, similar to Dis, there's not a lot of ways to generate Amber by itself, but stealing is just so strong. I have to put it at number 1 right now. But we'll wrap this up for you guys. Again, these rankings are in no way definitive. I mean, we're not even at release date yet, but I just want to give you guys an idea, especially for your newer players, of how these houses might play out of the gate if you're just picking up a random deck. So maybe if you're out there looking on your first day to trade around some of your decks, or if you're just looking for classes or the houses that you might want to be interested in, this might give you a good idea of how to stack up some of those houses together. So yeah, again, that's not to say that these houses at the bottom of the list can't be great. I truly believe all the houses are really well balanced. They all have individual mechanics and individual things that they do really well. But some of the houses just give you more advantages than others. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Go ahead and leave me a comment down in the description below. Let me know on what houses I missed on, what cards I might have missed. Let me know what your rankings are. Again, this game's super early, so I know a lot of people have different opinions. Let me know how I did. Hope you guys enjoy the video, and have a great day, and hope you guys have good luck out there fighting in the Crucible.